Welcome to the first video of my channel, That's Cool Tech. This video will be a quick how it was done video rather than a full build. I've had numerous requests on how I was able to fit two full 240 rad loops into a small ITX case. I hope this video answers a lot of your questions, and I will put links for all the hardware in the section below. So let's get started. This system is being built with an Intel i9-12900K using a Gigabyte Z690i Aorus gaming motherboard. Now this is the DDR4 version of the board. Reason for that is that I already had the DDR4 RAM and did not see the need to upgrade it to the DDR5, especially with the prices of DDR5. I'm also using an EK Quantum Kinetic FLT80D5 pump, but if you are looking to have a thinner pump, they do make a DDC version of this pump as well, but it will have less flow rate. The case and power supply that I will be using will be the Cooler Master NR200P ITX and the Cooler Master V850 power supply. This case supports full-length graphics cards up to 3 slots horizontally or 2 slots vertically. The case also has 2 USB 3.2 ports at the top of the case for easy access. Cooler Master, if you ever watch this video in the future, I would definitely suggest adding a USB-C port to the top as a revision to this case. I would also suggest making the case an inch or two taller to make custom builds like this one easier without modifications. Adding an inch or two to the depth would not hurt either. Your case would still be plenty compact over much of the other cases available, and if you ever do make a modification to this case or a revision, by all means, feel free to reach out to me and I would love to do a review for you. Here you will see there is already a 240 rad already installed, as this is a build that I took apart and is the part that everyone asked me about, and I will explain what I did here. Now the rad does not come with the case, and the one that you see here is the XSPC TX 240 ultra thin radiator. This is the radiator you must use to build this specific system, as clearance is the issue here. To begin the modifications, first go ahead and take off the top panel by removing all the side panels and removing the screw here at the back. At this point the top panel will pop off, but just be careful not to force it, as we do not want to break the plastic. Here you will see that I have already done the modification, as this was done a few months ago when I built the system, and I am just trying to give you guys a rundown at this point. First, bend back all of these metal hooks like the one you see circled here. This will allow you to remove the metal mesh from the plastic. Be careful not to bend the mesh though, as it's pretty tough to get it back into shape. At this point, I use the Dremel to cut the plastic, as you can see. You can use shears if you'd like, but a Dremel will make this go much faster. The picture you see here, I took off of Cooler Master's website, and you can see that there is a metal bracket that goes the length of the case. This is here so that you can mount an all-in-one radiator to the side of the case, or if you'd like to do a custom loop, you can also mount the radiator on the side here. Me, I'm building a custom loop because I actually want to see the internals of this loop, and having that radiator on the side would defeat the point. So you will want to remove this from the case, as this is actually going to be needed for mounting the radiator to the top of the case. At this point you will begin mounting the case, the fans, and the bracket with the Dremel. The fans you see here are the Slim Noctua NF A12 X15 Chromax Black fans. I have a total of 4 in this system. You will only need to be modifying 2 of these fans though, as you can see here. Using the Dremel, just cut the corners down to the first platform and do this to all 4 corners. Now I have my fans pulling air out of the case, as you can see here in the picture. If you wish to push air into the case instead, just cut out the opposite sides of the fan. Typically though, you will want the top to be removing hot air from the case. Now this is going to be the most difficult part, cutting the bracket to fit. Here's an image with black lines showing where I cut with the Dremel. The nice part is there's already a line to use for the guides. Notice the top right circle where I have a 1-inch notch. This is here so that the bracket will sit far enough down, otherwise the project would not work correctly. During the install you will see that I use zip ties to mount the bracket. Don't worry, they will hold really well. The circle on the left is just there so that you can see that the small lip goes under the case frame. Here is what it should look like once you have everything completed and mounted. One thing to note here is this long cable. These are cable extensions that I have plugged into the 2 fans at the top of the case. I have these pre-done as I have them running down through the side of the case, and I am about to do the hardware installation of the motherboard. So having these ran ahead of time makes the job a lot easier. Here is a close-up of the Gigabyte motherboard that I will be using. Notice that the CPU block is already installed. The EKWB water block was extremely easy to install. All you do is install the CPU in its standard manner, add the thermal paste to the top, and you put the water block through the pre-drilled holes on the motherboard and screw it into the metal plate on the back. Next is the hardware installation. The big thing to make sure here going forward is that you have all your cables connected and ran prior to any installation. I have connected all the cables that I need for my install. These right here are the fan connectors and the CPU 8-pin connector. Next, I installed the motherboard and connected all the cables for the fans and the front I/O port. Here is where you install the M2 hard drives if you are going to be using M2 hard drives. Just remove these 4 screws and the panel lifts off as it's only secured by a connector underneath. Just pull it up, it will come straight out. You install your hard drives and you put the panel back in, screw in the 4 connectors, and you are finished. Next, I did a placement test. I added the power supply, the graphics card, and the second radiator to the system. The radiator at the bottom is a 240mm EKWB using the 2 remaining Noctua fans. This installation is a basic install requiring no modifications. The rad just mounts with the screws underneath the base of the case. The point of the placement test was so that I can get my tubing aligned correctly before fixing the hardware to the case. I wanted to make sure that all tubes are as close to the front of the case as possible just to free up room overall. Once I had my placement correct, I then installed the EKWB pump to the power supply mount, as you can see here. You will notice that mine is sitting a little lower than it could be. You can easily move the pump and the bracket up another inch to give you more clearance above the GPU if you would like. It's all going to be based on your preference and how you want to run the tubes. At this point, all the hardware should be installed and in its permanent place. Now you will want to do all your cable management before running the tubes and filling the loop. There is almost no room for cable management in this case. Luckily, the way I have my build set up between the GPU and the lower radiator, you can see that the cables are pretty well hidden from the side of the case when using the glass panel. The other device that I have installed in this unit is the Corsair Commander you see here in the front of the case. I installed this so that I can have just one device and one software program controlling all of my RGB in the system. Corsair and the Gigabyte RGB Fusion just do not play very well together. The Corsair Commander allows all the devices to connect and be controlled with the same Corsair scenes. What you are seeing here is the final build. I did end up adding a drain valve to the pump, but that was just a preference and not necessarily a requirement, but I do recommend it. Hopefully this helped show you how to create your own dual rad system with the NR200P case. Please subscribe to my channel as I do have more videos coming your way. I will soon be reviewing different types of technology as I am able to get a hold of them. I have a custom arcade machine review coming, as well as a charging station that will charge your watch, earbuds, and phones. I will also be reviewing the new Samsung watch when it is released, so stay tuned.